A major winter blast putting the freeze on Wall Street. But that's not putting the chill on what's been a hot month for equities. Is the February upswing pointing to more gains for stocks down the road? Live from the New York Stock Exchange, this is the final and most important hour of the trading day.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Closing Bell. I'm Maria Bartiromo. I'm on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Hi, Scott.
Hey there, Maria. I'm Scott Wapner reporting live today from San Jose in the heart of Silicon Valley. Later this hour, we'll look into the world of venture capital and what could be the next big thing in the tech space, plus an exclusive chat with Cisco's CFO about business and the latest on enterprise spending.
We've got about 45 minutes before the closing bell sounds for the week and for the month, and a good month for the markets. Dow Industrials right now up 15 points. NASDAQ Composite higher by just a fraction. Up next on the closing bell, what does New York Governor David Paterson's decision to not seek re-election mean for Wall Street? We'll take a closer look. And then later, my interview with the former chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Glenn Hubbard. We'll talk about key issues such as the cost of health care reform, financial reform, the future of Wall Street. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern.
What's the next big thing in tech? I'm in the heart of Silicon Valley, where Google, Cisco, Intel, and many others were born. Coming up, find out where the new money is going and how the biggest technology companies on the planet are faring in the recovery.
Welcome back. Another big story today. New York Governor David Paterson has announced he will not seek a new term in the upcoming elections. Governor Paterson is speaking right now in New York. As you can see, that is a live shot.
The latest on the winter blast hitting the Northeast. We'll look at the impact on travel and the economy when the closing bell returns.
Welcome back. If you're looking for several feet of snow, you won't have any trouble finding it if you're in the Northeast today. The region hit hard once again by another major winter blast that's creating a lot of travel headaches once again. The Weather Channel's Mike Seidel is in Binghamton, New York, right now with the very latest. Let's see how much snow is behind you, Mike. The market here up 22 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. NASDAQ Composite also higher by a fraction, about 7 points higher. Up next, we are firing up the webcam connection. Get another investor's take on the markets, find out what one market watcher is saying as far as how to position himself for the month of March, which kicks off on Monday. That's when we continue on Closing Bell. Stay with us. Probably heard by now that stocks are on track for the best month since November, but what you might not know is what's leading the pack and who got left in the dust. Fortunately, CNBC's Matt Nesto does know, and he joins us now with all the stats. So we got a market that's up 16 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average with just about 20 minutes before the closing bell sounds. Still to come more on why some of the Wall Streeters are expecting a rally in the dollar to continue. How do you make money on that move? We will check it out.
I'm here on Google's campus in the heart of Silicon Valley. Coming up, we'll get the company's take on a controversial court ruling that raises the issue of privacy on the internet. And I'll speak exclusively to Cisco's CFO about business and what's happening right now in tech. There's a split here in Silicon Valley. Consumer technology companies continuing to face recessionary pressures, while those firms focused on enterprise spending are more optimistic. In a CNBC exclusive, I caught up with Cisco Chief Financial Officer Frank Calderoni and asked him about the economic recovery.
All right, with the market up about 10 points on the Dow, let's take a look at the widely held stocks. And as you can see, we are seeing a firmer footing for the major banks. Wells Fargo, the one exception, down a fraction, but pretty much across the board, strength in the financial services sector. We've got the closing countdown right after this short break. Scott.
And Maria, after the bell, is there any real hope for health care reform, or will it simply cost taxpayers way too much? We'll ask former chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Glenn Hubbard. That is today, 4 p.m. Eastern. You're watching CNBC, first in business worldwide.
Welcome back to the Closing Countdown. I'm Brian Shackman here.
And it is 4 o'clock on Wall Street. Do you know where your money is? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Closing Bell. I'm Maria Bartiromo at the New York Stock Exchange as we're following at the close this snowy evening in New York City. We had a market that was higher today for much of the session, ended way off of the highs of the afternoon. But nonetheless, financial services lifted the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it finished higher by a fraction. Volume on the light side today. Winter weather throughout the Northeast, causing volume below 1 billion shares. Number of people taking the day off because of the snowy weather. 29 inches in Central Park, New York City. We're going to take a look at the weather and the impact on travel, as well as the markets coming up in the program. In addition, here's a look at how we finished the day, the week, and by the way, yes, the month on Wall Street. The Dow up 3 points for the day, S&P 500 up 1.5 points, and the NASDAQ Composite up better than 4. Taking a look now at the other business headlines we're covering tonight. The U.S. economy grew by even more than initially reported in the final quarter of 2009. $900 billion over the next 10 years. With that kind of a price tag, can America really afford the cost of health care reform? We'll talk with Glenn Hubbard about that. He's co-chairman of the Committee on Capital Markets Regulation and dean of Columbia's Business School. Then a story of theft, corruption, and Hermitage Capital CEO Bill Browder continues telling his story, telling the tale of investing in Russia, and if he still thinks the rewards outweigh the risk. We're going to tell you his story and tell you how he's allocating money now after he's been shut out of Russia. You're watching CNBC, first in business worldwide. Folks in the East Coast are facing yet another major winter blast. We're seeing some areas in the region already getting several feet of snow, and more is still on the way. 29 inches in Central Park right now, New York City. A major development, meanwhile, in New York. For the New York governor's race, we will dig into David Paterson's plans to drop his bid for a full term in office. Plus, we take a look at the possibility of New York Attorney General Andrew Cuomo becoming the next governor of New York, how that may impact business on Wall Street. Back in a moment.
Here's a look at some of today's winners and losers.
With New York Governor David Paterson deciding not to run in the upcoming elections, it leaves the door open now for his Democratic rival, State Attorney General Andrew Cuomo. Coming up, he pioneered investing in Russia, but his story lit up the headlines and put a spotlight on the price of doing business in the former communist state. Welcome back. For 11 years, my next guest only invested exclusively in Russia. But in 2007, after Hermitage's offices were raided in Moscow and their documents were seized, its founder and CEO, Bill Browder, turned his investing focus to other emerging markets. He was forced to. So let's come here on the Closing Bell. We have developments on the Toyota story as well. We'll tell you why the recalls are getting even more expensive for the auto giant. Stay with us. An update now on a developing story tonight. Toyota announcing it will provide alternative transportation to Toyota and Lexus owners nationwide.